Good morning, Year 6. Hope you're enjoying the transition videos so far. We've been really impressed with the engagement from you all so far. We've had over 800 videos played over just short of 3 weeks since we first launched. So to say a big thank you and to give you some more content to keep you busy over these few summer days, we want to welcome you to Diversity Week at King's Leadership Academy. Diversity Week is all about looking at your surroundings, looking at the people in your life and in your community, and looking at how diverse or how different everybody is, and making sure we are welcoming and inclusive of all people from all walks of life. So that's what Diversity Week is. Now, I'm Miss Perchin. I'm currently head of Year 7 and I'm also a member of the English department. And the English department really wanted to get involved in Diversity Week by making sure that we gave you a fun task to engage in for Diversity Week that you can do really easily at home. So you need a computer, which I presume you're using right now to engage in this session for the presentation. A newspaper or an old book maybe, or a print, anything with words on that you're happy to write on. So this has to be something that you are comfortable with writing on or drawing on. And you'll also need some felt tip pens or pencils for colouring in. Okay, so those are a few things that you need to make sure you've got. If you want to pause this video now to go and get those resources, then do that. Okay, hopefully you've got all your resources. Let's get cracking. So what we're going to do is something called blackout poetry. Now, you may not have heard of this before, but blackout poetry is a really creative and beautiful thing that you can do in your free time at home as a different way of engaging in poetry. So we're going to watch this little video, and this is going to be a short example of how to create blackout poetry, which I'm going to talk you through as we watch. So what you need to do is you need to take a piece of print and go through it, read it, and select interesting words or phrases that you would like to use in your own piece of poetry. So you can see here, this person is selecting individual words that, when put together, create a new poem. Now, don't forget, poems don't need to rhyme. Poems can simply be short stories or abstract ideas that are shared with others. So this person is choosing words and phrases that they really like. So, for example, with owlish eyes, or I don't know how many times over the years he looked. Okay? And then once you've selected all your words, you black out the rest of the text. And you can see this person is choosing individual bits and pieces as they go that on second reading might not fit. So they just black those out. And you can go through and black out all the other words, and it creates a really beautiful effect. So that's what blackout poetry actually is. That's what it looks like. So what's that got to do with Diversity Week? Well, what you can do is look at the power of words, the power of individual words, and what you want to say through your creation of blackout poetry. So for diversity, you might want to focus on how you can be inclusive, how you can make everyone feel welcome when looking at the power of the language we use. On screen, you can see lots of famous names, lots of famous people, some you might have heard of, like Douglas Adams, who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Martin Luther King, John Lennon, Alfred Lord Tennyson, C.S. Lewis, who wrote the line The Witch and the Wardrobe. And these are some comments about how language can be really, really powerful. So Douglas Adams says, words used carelessly as if they did not matter in any serious way, often allowed otherwise well-guarded truths to seep through. So we can be honest with our language. George Byron states, a drop of ink may make a million think. And I think that's a really powerful concept, that just one drop of ink made into a word can create something that makes everybody think more broadly. And for me personally, one of my favourite experiences with being made to think through language is through music. So think about a song that you love, lyrics that you really like. What is the message of that song? Okay, what is the message of the words used? And when set to music, how is that effective? So there's lots of different quotes on screen here, and you might want to pause this video to read through them to help you have an idea about how your words that you select in your blackout poetry can be really powerful and present a message of inclusion and diversity. So why does language matter when we're talking about diversity? Well, it helps people to feel accepted because it shows support. You can encourage people with your language to be more honest and more open. You can demonstrate your understanding of everybody else's experience, or perhaps not your understanding, but your willingness to understand. And unfortunately, if we're looking at particular groups, so for example, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual plus community, it's a sad fact that lots of people still need to be reassured that people are accepting of their sexuality. And it's not just sexuality that is a focus in Diversity Week. It is skin colour, it is gender, it is age, it is appearance, it's everything. Anything that can be different from one person to another can be a topic of your blackout poetry. So I want you to take a minute now to have a think about those different issues of sexuality, issues of gender, issues of size, body size, for example, age. You might want to talk about a particular area. So maybe you feel like some people are picked on because they like to play chess or to read. You might hear people get called nerds or geeks. I was always called a nerd or a geek at school, and I quite liked that. That meant that people thought I was really clever. And I always took that and earned that. So maybe that's something you want to talk about in your diverse blackout poetry. So there's some examples I'm going to show you on screen now. So there's one here, which is taken from a news article, very, very short. This one reads, even in failure, there are snippets of hope. This can have great meaning. So very short, but really, really powerful. That in failure, hope can have great meaning. This one, which has gone to be a little bit more artistic, is a picture on the left with the words poking through, with individual words focused on the right-hand side. Again, really simple, but really effective. Another one here with use of colour. The hunter, the air was beginning to get cold, the sun cracking the edge of the woods, unoccupied. For a moment I stood in the silent twilight, the woods and the wind rattling. I started to hear sounds of animals, the sound of fast breathing. I froze. I love that one. And this one here, which again has gone for a different style, but really effective, focusing on these individual words. So when it comes to creating your own blackout poetry, you can choose any text you want to. Make sure you ask permission first, though, if it's a book, just in case you don't want to be scribbling all over somebody's favourite book, and create your own example of blackout poetry. As a department, we'd love to see what you create, so please do send them to year6transition@kingswarrington.com. Share it on our Twitter @kingswoolston, and we can't wait to see what you produce. So remember, you need to talk about, in your Blackout poetry, a focus on diversity, and make sure you make it as creative as possible. There's some ideas on screen of messages that you might want to get across in your poems, and we can't wait to see what you produce. Good luck, and don't forget to send us what you make.